Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. The master of hair decided to grace us with his presence. Let me get into my fucking rant here. Because me and Dean have to roast the master of hair here now we got to come up with a whole new nickname. We can't call him Drinking Jason. We got to think of something else. He's like, I'm having a couple drinks, bro. Can't show up. Bro. That's all we got. Like at 2:30.
I could either do a podcast on the 3 hours left after landing in my 2-week vacation in Greece and have a complete blow up argument with my wife, or hear it from you guys. And I'd rather hear it from you guys than my wife on this whole trip. So go do whatever you need to do, bro. I make my decision and I'm living with it.
Do what you must. I made the right choice in the end. But the master of hair decided to grace us with his presence. We have Sales Master Steve-O on. We have Captain America back again. Jason, I'm kind of disappointed in your background for the pod. Not going to lie. Thought it was going to be a little bit more epic. Where are you at right now?
This is an Airbnb. We're in our third island in Greece right now. So this one, there are no killer hotels. So we got an Airbnb, which actually is pretty nice. But the last two places that we've been at were pretty sick. So not complaining at all. This trip has been amazing. Definitely coming back. Highly recommend.
All right. And then how much longer are you gone for?
We're about halfway through, dude. So we got 6 more days. We've been out here 8 days. So full-blown 2-week vacation. We did Mykonos for 5 days, Paros for 2 days. We're in Milos for another 3 days, and then Santorini for 3. So we're catching the tail end of it right now.
And did you listen to the Banana Man podcast, bro?
Yes, I did. I listened to that. Founders
is that one of my new favorite
insane, ones. Yeah,
bro?
It was good. That one and All In, dude, were the two really good recommendations for you. If anybody's looking for 2 podcasts, Strat put me up on a couple good ones, man. All In and Founders, both pretty.
The Banana Man changed my life. If a man can shut down an entire government just to improve his banana business, I can do some more shit. Like here, have you listened to it, Steve?
I have not.
It is insane. This dude legitimately overthrew an entire government just so he could take over the banana trade, like the world banana trade. Super interesting.
Sounds solid to me.
All right, but welcome to the Deal Champs pod. My name's Stratton Brown, aka Strat Daddy. I've scaled 2 different businesses to 7 figures. We have a 7-figure real estate portfolio, and right now I'm on the journey of 0 to $1 million wholesaling houses nationwide. It is an absolute grind. I got Steve-O coaching me up once a week, just telling me where I'm fucking up. I actually have some notes from our earlier call today. It's on my YouTube. Go listen to it. Hopefully it eliminates those attorney objections that we've been kind of running into lately. We have Mr. Captain America, no Bluetooth. If you guys didn't know, Dean has shooters. Dean has mad shooters, and it's because there's no Bluetooth. What else? He only eats like meat that comes from, I think it comes from like his backyard. All organic vegetables.
Remember, no seed oils.
No seed oils. What else? And that's what gets Dean to have 12 children. He has shooters, and it's all because it's no Bluetooth, no seed oils, and he just gets it done.
That was fun with Raphael in town. They were giving me a hard time, but hey, can make a lot of kids with it, I guess.
All right, introduce yourself, Captain America.
Yeah, so guys, your other co-host here, Dean Rogers, aka Captain America, transitioned from the NFL to corporate, then to real estate. Been investing for just over a decade now in Central California. Done over 650 deals. We're very close to 700. 8-figure rental portfolio, coaching students how to get started in real estate. You guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com.
Master of hair, give us a quick intro.
I'm your other co-host, guys. It's Jason Pritchard. Backstory on me is I worked in corporate America for 15 years. Hated my job, was very unhappy with my life. We burned all the boats in 2014, have not looked back since. We have done 450 deals. I own a rental portfolio of just north of 100 units, mainly here in Central California. And our goal, as always, is for everybody watching the pod to try to transfer as many viable learning experiences to you guys so you can get to where we've gotten in a much shorter amount of time. And I'm excited for Steve. Steve, your podcast, dude, I know I haven't had a chance to tell you this, but your podcast was one of the most influential ones in the early stages of my career. Learned a lot, dude, and having all the people that are on there. So it's a cool full circle moment for me to have you on the pod today, dude. I'm sure it's going to be a good one for everybody.
I appreciate that.
And we have the master of sales, the man who took my last dollar so he could teach me how to do more sales. Mr. Steve Trang. True story. He really did.
You want me to do an intro? What do you want me to do here?
Do an intro. Tell
Give us
a
the
little
high
bit.
level one. Yeah.
Well, I guess just like Dean, right? I'm a former athlete, right? Went through the corporate world, worked at Intel, and then I have made every possible mistake I think possible in business. Still here, so I'm the sales guy. I am obsessed with all things sales, including sales management, right? How to deal with salespeople because they can be, a little diva-ish at times. So anything sales related, I can talk pretty much all day, every day about it.
And why did you take my last dollar, Steve?
Because you didn't tell me it was your last dollar. Had I known you were broke, I wouldn't have taken your dollar, right? Had I known that you were like scraping by, I would be like, no, like you need to get your life together first, right? But I'm glad that we did that because I'm really, really happy to see everything that you've been able to accomplish since I took your last dollar.
And for context, guys, Steve was my first mentor outside of Alan Folio. Shout out Alan, a mutual mentor of mine and Jason's. I used my tax return of like $2,500 to go to Steve's like first wholesaling and sales workshop, and it absolutely changed my life. It's where a majority of my networks come from. I learned a ton in sales on it, and then that's really what jump started me to help go do a whole lot more in business with Steve's first workshop. So thank you for that, Steve-O. And I willingly gave him my last dollar. I was like, hey, I'm going to run into some money in 2 weeks. If you can wait for me to pay you, I'll be good to go. And so we got it done.
Got it done.
So
almost like you overthrew the government.
I'll be there, bro. Don't you? I'm going to be the banana man. All right. I want to start out with the first topic. Do you think sports helped you out in life?
Hey, Strat, quick comment from IG from Sam Faster Freedom, Mr. Sam Prim.
Does he want to fucking fight?
He said Steve has a broken jumper.
He says that someone that has been afraid to jump on the basketball court with me ever.
Well, when he sees calves, like the calves you have on your body, I mean, he knows you're dunking and you're probably putting elbow in the hoop too.
In my dreams, yes, that's exactly how it plays out. But yeah, unfortunately, I've learned that calves and jumping are completely unrelated. I wish that were not the case.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Man, Sam, those are fighting words. And he said,
with Sam Prim right now.
He also said, and yes, I'll beat up Stratton.
Yeah, I got Stratton 9 or 10 times out of 10 in that fight.
Fighting words from Sam.
Fighting words, bro. Fighting words. First topic. How have sports influenced your life and business? And would you suggest your kids go and try and play college sports or get right into business?
Ooh.
We'll start with professional athlete Steve Trang, former player.
I love that.
My professional athlete, what we're talking about here is I tried out for the ASU basketball team and didn't make it past first cuts. But sports absolutely makes a big difference, right? Because it's where you learn about leadership. It's where you learn about accountability, where you learn about introspection, where you screwed up, right? Like, a player who screws up and doesn't own it, doesn't feel bad about it, don't want him on my business team, right? But the guy that's like, hey, keep shooting your shot. You'll make the next one, right? That's the guy I want on my team. The guy that's like, hey, it was my bad. I had a defensive lapse or whatever. I'll make it up next time, right? That's the guy I want on my team. Something you'll hear from me every once in a while is like, I'll make my next shot, right? It's that conviction that you can't hold me down. I know for myself on the basketball court, even though I'm not the best player, not even close. In fact, if I'm the best player on the team, we're in a lot of trouble. However, I always want the game winner, and I'm going to make it, right? And that's that mindset you have in business, that kind of mindset that you're going to take over a country with, right? So absolutely, it makes a difference. And then do all my kids playing college sports, I want them to play any college sports where they're not going to get a concussion. So no football, and ideally, probably no soccer.
Okay. What about you, Dino?
Oh, Steve made some great points. And I'll have to say that when it comes to college sports, I think college in general. We talked about the college topic. I think the best part of college is I think the best thing that you get out of it is the maturing process. Now, there's plenty of people that don't mature during that time, but for me, like, it was me growing up as an adult, cooking my own food, responsible for my own schedule, making the choice to go to class or not, or be prepared for practice or not, or the games, all those things. For me, that was the most beneficial thing. And a lot of the habits and things that I gained as a result of that, I still have, carried through the rest of my life. So for me, that was the most valuable part. I think college is good for the relationships. We've talked about that as well too. But when it comes to sports, dude, college sports are insanely awesome. Especially if you go to a big college. Now, I didn't go to a big football college. I went to UC Davis, and I would dream while playing in college that I went to a freaking big football. I had people in my class being like, "Oh, we have a football team," and I'm like, "Ah, fudge! Like, what the heck, dude? Like, you went to Fresno State. That would have been a much more fun school to go to, right? People would literally probably carry you to your classroom. They love football so much. So I think from an experience standpoint, it's like no other. And I think that in itself is amazing, right? We can get into, is college worth going to or not? We've already talked about that. I think outside from the sports part and the life skills you get and the relationships, I don't think the education is that great unless it's really specified. So would I think my kids should go? I think for those experiences, yes. I agree with because I get asked this question all the time with Steve. People say, "Oh, your kids are going to play football?" I'm like, "No, they're not," because that's why I stopped playing football. I was hitting my head for a living, and I was like, "Wow, I'm going to die." So, no, I don't want them to play concussion sports either. Soccer is really that gray line one because you're definitely racking your head all the time with headers, especially balls getting kicked super hard. So that's a tough one, even though some of my kids are really good at soccer. So we'll see how that plays out. So I think sports, especially college sports, the amount of time you have in it and having to go to school and the time in life where you're having to grow up, I think it helped me a ton. And I don't think I would be the same if I didn't go through that experience. I truly don't. So it was good for me. Do I want my kids to go through it? Yes, for a similar experience, but at the same time, there's a part of me that also wants them to just get straight into it and not have to deal with going through all that, and to ideally get them into real estate naturally. I love that, or into some type of business. But I think it depends on each kid. They're going to maybe need that time to mature and grow. Or there'll be others that are like, "Dad, I'm ready to go now. Like, I want this," So I'm going to take it kid by kid and see how it plays out.
What about you, Master of Hair?
I agree with everything that everybody said. I'll go in a couple of different directions. I think playing sports all throughout growing up, all through high school, the things that I took away from it that I applied towards business is all of the reps that you get in practice. And I think you get applied specifically towards the real estate business. You have to put in so much work and you put in so many reps, and you only get a certain opportunities on appointments or in front of sellers or these key pivotal moments in the transactions where you're actually there to perform, where all of that repetition plays in. I think that for me was huge. I think just building your competitive nature is huge, like learning how to push through obstacles, learning how to compete, learning how to work with your teammates. I mean, all of that stuff spills directly over. I mean, I spent 15 years in corporate America. We managed large sales teams, and you have to learn how to work with people in different industries and different dynamics. And I think all of that stuff, I don't know, if I hadn't played sports, I don't know where I would have learned something like that could have applied towards anything that I did there. So I think there's ton of spillover that I got from playing sports as a kid. And
I think for me, so I listed out like all the things that were positives for me in college sports, but I wish I would have gotten started in business like fresh out of high school and at least played college, and then had someone in my life who would tell me, like, Strat, odds are you are not going to make a lot of money in the NFL, and someone was like there in my ear talking to me to be like, hey, the odds of you achieving that are here. The odds of you achieving what you want in business are like way up here. So I knew the actual like apple to chase going into it. But I would say it taught me how to brush and flush, right? And I think this is like a big one in basketball where you get like swatted. I even got dunked on and had to go back and play defense and not like cry. That one's huge. All right, what else? The inputs and outputs for me is enormous because with sports, I saw the amount of practice reps and outside footwork that I did directly correlated to how much better I would be in the season. Like, so my off season would always directly correlate to my season. So if I knew if I had a good off season and I worked my ass off, I'd get what I wanted. And I think people don't really see that in business because they haven't been able to like will themselves into something that they wanted before. Sport shows you that you can control the outcomes you want in your life, right? Up to a certain extent. Yes, I really couldn't have made it to the NFL. I wasn't naturally fast enough, but I willed myself up to that by watching more film, doing more footwork and stuff like that. Hard work. I think college sports, it really just showed me how to be like more worldly and communication and leadership. That was like my corporate America, because my time at Fresno State was probably the worst run organization in America, hands down. Like corporate Fortune 500, bro. The fucking Fresno State should have gone bankrupt when we were there. We went 1-11 my senior year. We only beat Sac State. We got blown out by Ole Miss by 70 points. Like just astronomical things that should not happen to a D1 program. And then it showed me how to be a bad leader, but I never got, and I'd say the pedigree of saying I played college sports has helped me get into certain rooms, and it earns me respect now by saying like, yeah, I played at Fresno State. I tried out for the Seahawks. I was 17th in the country in tackles. I was all conference. People automatically like, oh, so like you've achieved some shit, even though it may not be directly correlated. Steve, I got a message here saying there's a comment about MAGA and you want us to share it. What's going on here?
Yeah, make America great again. I think absolutely. We should absolutely make America great again.
You must not be on the see the comments coming through. There's somebody dropping comments over here, but there's somebody right here from Cade. So Cade said, I second relationships. As a former and current student, relationships are bar none the biggest takeaway, pros and cons, especially in the entrepreneur space. He also says, in terms of education and content, while it's not all 100% great, MBA level courses have also given far beyond the value given in undergrad. So yeah, I think it's really subjective to what outcome you're looking for, right? When it comes to that. But if we're going to narrowly focus on sports, and do we think sports help us out? That's a
wild comment, Dean.
Yeah, it is wild. I'm glad you finally saw it.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I think college sports it's just a whole different experience. And I think, leading up to that in high school, each one of them are stepping stones to new experiences, new challenges, new levels of maturity. And so I definitely, I think life would be very different without college sports.
Yeah, this comment here is out of control. And this guy is, if this guy is serious, this guy is a problem. He has his own issues. You need to go talk to someone about this. But you've got issues. But talking about getting dunked on. So have you guys had Xavier on the show?
No,
I don't think we have, actually.
We haven't had Xavier on the show.
So I still remember Christmas Eve, not last one, but the one before. It was me versus him on a breakaway. He stole the ball. I'm the last guy back on defense. And this guy tried to dunk it on me. Right? And I timed my jump perfectly. Perfect. It was one of my best jumps. Right?
You were higher than him, weren't you?
No, I got his elbow, but he didn't dunk it. But I got high enough to foul him so that he couldn't dunk it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have not played with the highest caliber players necessarily, but I've never been dunked on. I can probably say that.
All right, I got another question to roll into. Did your college degree, has it actually helped you outside of the relationships? Because the number one place where I've gotten the most education is old school Alex Hormozy podcast, Welcome to the Game. That to me was like an MBA in real estate when we were growing call magicians. I was like, bro, how is this information free? Like, this is insanity. To where college, I'd say the number one thing I remember taking away is like rhetoric and then an Excel class. I never thought I'd be using Excel sheets so much in my life. and that class was 100% worth attending, at least to get comfortable with. Jason, what was your degree in?
My degree was in human resource management. So the direct answer to your question is no, there isn't anything that I learned from like specifically from my classwork and my coursework that applies. I think the biggest takeaway for me was reaffirming that it's important to make a commitment and stick to something. Like I started college when I was 18. I had my son when I was 19. I went part-time for like 4 years, and then I just stopped for like 3 years. And growing up, college was my dad graduated from college. So did my mom. So education was always something that was like important in my household. And for me, I was just happy that even though it took me 10 years and I started and I stopped and like life took me in all these different directions, that I could commit to something and get it done. So that was like my biggest learning lesson. It wasn't really the coursework or the things that I learned from actually going.
What about you, Steve-O?
So the version you see before you today, as cocky as I may be, is the humblest version to date. So when I went to ASU, there was no competition, right? Like I got a degree in electrical engineering from ASU. It wasn't hard. Like my competition was not that great. So I went to UC San Diego for grad school. And when you go to grad school, to come to America, you got to be the best in your country. So we got the best from China, Taiwan, Korea, Nigeria, Sweden, India, right? These were some smart people. So all this confidence I had crushing at ASU got diminished really fast. And so I had to learn a lot by myself. So I never worked hard at ASU, right, to get my degree. And I still graduated amongst the top of my class. I had to learn hard work. I had to apply more effort to compete with and eventually be better than the smartest from all the other countries. So it taught me humility. It taught me the work ethic that was required to win. So it taught me a lot of humility, and it taught me the work ethic. Like at ASU, right, I wouldn't try for the first 10 weeks of a semester and make up the rest of the semester, right? At UCSD, the quarter is 10 weeks long. Like 6 weeks in, I was the first quarter, I was like, what the hell is going on? So I had to really buckle down, like pulling all-nighters and so on. So it taught me humility and how to overcome adversity.
That one's brutal. What about you, Dino? You got an actual finance degree, right?
It was economics. No, I wish it was finance. I wanted to get it in business, but at UC Davis, there was no business degree. There was managerial economics. And it was like a combination of economics and finance stuff. And I wanted the managerial economics, but a long story short, you have to take calculus and take all this different type of stuff, right? So I took calculus, and the class that I had for calculus A, or whatever the first one is, I think it was calculus A, we had some French student teacher who didn't even look backwards. She just looked at the board and just wrote up there in cursive and with an accent. She didn't give two shits about us learning anything. The curve was so horrible that by me getting consecutive Fs on 2 midterms in a row and not even making it to the finals, I showed up at the wrong time. The only time I've ever done that. I got a D in the class. That's how bad the curve was. I didn't even make it to the finals and 2 Fs on the midterm. So instead of retaking that, I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm behind. So I took calculus B next and did so in it because I still didn't know what the hell happened in calculus A. I should have retaken it. And because I did that, you had to get an actual certain GPA. You had to get like a 3.0 in order to actually even make it into managerial economics. So I got totally screwed on that whole thing and was super bummed about it. So I ended up having to settle for economics, and the classes were very economic-y. You know, they were very big picture, macro, and like they weren't the exciting parts. The only exciting part that I actually remember from class was when we talked about the 2008 crash and what happened, why it happened with, real estate and the stock market and everything. That was like super riveting and exciting. But besides that, everything else was like painfully not exciting.
You're so young if they're breaking down the 2008 crash in
Yeah.
college. God damn.
I graduated 2010, so.
All right. Our next question.
Did you answer the question?
Well, I think it's worthless. I didn't.
Okay.
Was yours communications? I can't remember what yours was.
Yeah, bro. I got put into the hole of every athlete. If you ever meet a college football player, they're either going to get a degree in communications, fucking Africana studies, which should be a crime, and then what was the other one? Or they're going to get like a crim degree.
Yeah, political science.
Or political science. Like, it's like one of those. The only reason I don't like Africana studies, because for the amount of degrees that these college athletes get in Africana studies, there's not enough teacher spots open. It's a terrible degree to get that. And the only thing you're getting is a fucking teaching job with that.
It's a scam.
It's a scam. But yeah, that's why. So I want to present something to this, and I'd love to hear how you guys are with your teams planning fallacies. And so, like, when you think about Elon Musk always sets these enormous goals with these ridiculously short timelines, and he's like, we're gonna fucking deliver. And then he grinds the team out to get there, and he's a year late, but he probably got it done faster than anybody else would have even done it in the first place. How do you guys plan with your team, and how do you set your goals? Are you like a go, go, go guy? You're like, hey, we're just going to shorten this out. If we hit it, we hit it. If we don't, we don't. But I know if I put the pressure on them, we're going to get there. Or are you a little bit more realistic with the goal setting with your teams? I'd love to hear Jason, just because you're going with the stuff with Gary right now, and like how you guys are approaching that.
Yeah, we just onboarded with Sharper, so we're doing a bunch of this goal planning with them right now. I'm a big believer in think big but start small, and that's in line with what Sharper is having us do. So we casted out a 5-year vision, a 3-year vision, a 1-year vision, and then we've broken it all out based on what we're performing on now. I like that. That's how I kind of always been with my goal setting, even going back to corporate America. I think it's incremental increases and stuff that's based off prior performance and then constantly raising the bar. I do believe that there is something to like Cardone and 10xing everything, or Elon just shooting for like Mars on every single thing, and every single goal is like this moonshot. But not everybody is Elon, and not everybody is Grant Cardone, man. And I think for us, I like that approach to it. It's worked very well. I'm actually really curious to hear how Steve's approach is. That's the way we've kind of always done it, but I'm definitely open to hearing other.
Where you at, Steve-O? What has been your approach? And
so my approach in the past
with the sales team that
my approach in the past was kind of like, let's shoot for the moon, and wherever we land, we land. And that works if everybody's wired like you. The problem is not everyone's wired like you, and so it's demoralizing when you miss the goals, right? And that's the challenge you run into, right? The administrative people are like bummed out. The salespeople that were looking for the bonuses are bummed out. So like for me, that would fire me up. Like, let's freaking go and let's go 100 miles an hour. Let's run through walls. Most people aren't wired that way. And so if I had Elon's budget, then I could do that. I can hire the best in every single seat, every single role. I can go pay everyone $150K a year, right? And run these crazy timelines. Our company's not run with a budget where we can pay $150,000 per person, right? So we have more, manageable salaries, wages, right? And so I can't demand, superhuman performance from every single seat. So actually, we run the exact opposite now. So we know, just knowing thyself, right? We know that I'm a crazy person, and I'm going to have a whole bunch of ideas throughout the quarter. So we actually budget for 60% of what we can hit, knowing that I'm going to add shit throughout the quarter to get us to 100%, right? So we used to budget for crazy goals, like 2x the goals. Now we budget for less than the goal because I know I'm going to demand things that I did not demand in the quarterly, but I'm going to want those things done in the middle of the quarter. So that's how we plan now.
I love it. What about you, Dino?
This is for me personally. I could be doing it wrong. I don't know, but I try not to have the cutthroat, meet your goal, or you're out type of approach. To me, I'm trying to be the person who's encouraging, who's motivating, a kick in the butt when you need it, attaboy, slap on the butt when you need it, type of team member. And so I'm just trying to be positive. And from what I've seen so far, I mean, again, maybe I'm missing something and we should be doing better, but we continue to improve and hit new numbers and get better. So I like to think that the way we're approaching it is the right way. And, so it's trying to find the right balance between having, the ability to make mistakes, the ability to, grow, but I'm never doing, like monthly goals. And if you don't make them, you don't get your bonus. It's if we do make them, you get extra bonuses, right? We get our bonuses that we normally get, but we get extra bonuses if we do meet goals. So I like that approach. It's something we're striving for and going after. But otherwise, if we were just absolutely, sucking and just not hitting any numbers and going backwards, then now we have problems, right? Now we got to start addressing those. So that's been my approach. Again, maybe it's too laxed and not stringent enough, but I've liked it, and I'd like to say we have a really good culture. Like to say that the people like working together and are fired up and motivated, and I feel like the results are showing.
I think Dean's voting for Kamala.
Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty woo-woo, bro.
Wow.
That was pretty woo-woo.
How did you extract that out of that?
That was pretty woo-woo. I don't Jason's led sales teams more than I have, but I have two different approaches. Operationally, to me, it's like, how can we get this done right now? Like, so on the integrator side, I'm like, well, what is the holdup of not getting this accomplished faster? This is our goal. Like, I want these things like done chop, 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 because that sets the pace for the company. And then we can just push that along better. So like I have less leniency on the operational side. If I know what needs to be done and we just need to push that bitch forward, let's just focus and get that done and have shorter timelines. Because if you give it a certain amount of time, it is always going to take that certain amount of time. And so you want to compress to create that urgency in your culture to get things done and hammer it out better. That's on my operations. From a sales side, I am a little bit more lax. And that was when I started having to create bonus structures around and having to incentivize those sales reps. Because if I'm like shooting for the moon and this is what we're going for, and the only way they're going to hit like their numbers and make real money is if we hit this insane goal, they're going to be demoralized from like day one. And I've done it. I've tested it. I've done it in like 9 different ways. And they've been like, bro, we're never going to meet it. We are week 2. We are already 110% behind. What am I going to do to hit my numbers? Blah, blah, blah. So the sales side, I'm a lot more of like, hey, here's our goal, but I just manage on inputs and outputs. Like if you are hitting your KPIs, I am happy. If you're hitting your KPIs and we can coach you up every day and you're getting better, I'm pretty Dino with it, right? I'm pretty like relaxed, like, hey, bro, you got this. We'll get it. Generally, no one's really trying to fuck up that bad on a sales call, and sales can be hard. It gets really boring at times if you're on the phone all day. So I have a lot of leniency there. But when it comes to operational wise, I think in order to set a good culture and like, you never know how long it's actually going to take. And what's the fallacy that's in there? Like whatever law it is, if you give yourself a month to do it, it'll take a month. If you give yourself a week to do it, it'll happen in a week. And so it's finding that happy medium of creating the urgency in your company to get it done fast. And like, well, why can't we get it done now? And fleshing that out and seeing, and then kind of, for me, it was good to see what team members are capable of and like who's like has high output, because some people just can't keep up with what you're trying to create, and that's okay. Maybe it's a different seat for that person and that whole thing. Go ahead, Jason.
Steve, does your team, when you set your target for your quarter, let's say at 60% of what you know the actual is going to be, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say you're trending to hit that 60%. Does the team know that 60% is really not the goal? Or if in your mind you're behind there, right, because you're not getting there, and you goes, hey guys, we're not behind, are they thinking, well, No, well, what are you talking about? We're on track to this number. How do you manage?
So it's a great question. So I'm talking about operations. I'm not talking about financial goals. Financial goals are the financial goals, right? We have to hit those. I'm talking about like here are the mission, the quarterly initiatives, right? Here are the rocks, is what some people call them. Here are things we want to get done. Because I know we're going to add more things to it. I'm going to add layers of complexity that I didn't think about, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about. And as far as what Strand's talking about, inputs versus outputs. So I used to focus on the outputs, right? And I talked about that. But we know you can't manage people based off of outputs. We got to manage the inputs. So we started managing people only on inputs. Hey, as long as you're doing the activities, we're good. That doesn't work for us either. So now we manage the inputs and the outputs. Hey, you need to do your KPIs and you need to get these contracts, right? So we're holding you accountable to both. So if you're not hitting the outputs, but you're hitting the inputs, it's a skill issue. We got to figure out what's going on here. So now we hold them accountable to the inputs and the outputs. And another thing too, where Strand's talking about like the operations. One thing we learned recently is like, hey Strand, I want you to do this, right? So I got like here's what I have to like convey now. Strand, here's what I want done. Here's why it's important. Here's what success looks like, and I don't want you spending more than this much amount of time on it. So it's not like, hey, you have a week to do this. It's like, hey, I don't want you to spend more than 3 hours on this. And now he
That's a
gets
good
to decide.
framing. Yeah.
He gets to know like, okay, I'm putting more than 3 hours on it, or I'm putting 3 hours on it. And if you say like, Steve, I can't get the quality I want at 3 hours, okay, well, what are we are we okay sacrificing the quality, or do we need to change the amount of time allotted to this? But we never talked about a time budget before. We just said you got 2 weeks, and all of us are notorious for being bad at time management. So now I just say, oh, here's what I want done. I don't want you to spend more than 3 hours on it. So that's something new for us.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Jason, in your company, who do you have like really operationally besides Cade?
Cade is my integrator. Cade is on all my CSO calls with Sharper's team. It's been interesting. Scott came back on the team almost 2 years ago and was big with us implementing traction in EOS, and we cleaned up a lot of the messes that we had going into hiring Sharper, which I think was good on our own just by implementing just simple stuff from traction. And then everything that we've been doing with them has taken things up to the next level. So Cade is the one that's really overseeing all of that stuff with me. And then he's got direct reports on the admin and operational side that.
All right. Next thing, and this is for Steve-O. How do you build a competitive sales culture and keep the morale high and manage the divas the right way? And I always defect to Jason on these because I know Jason led a sales team for a long time too.
Yeah. A competitive sales culture for us, what we've been really focused on really is what they want. So we don't have, I mean, as far as competitive sales culture is like, we can say, here's what this person's doing, but we've gotten really kind of, woo. I was kind of giving like Dean crap about this earlier, but like really focus on what they want. Because if we focus on what they want, then it's really about their goals. Now, if they decide they want to compete against each other, they can compete against each other, but it's not about like, hey, Jason's beating you, Stratton. It's about like, hey, Stratton, you said it was important to you to be able to buy a new home in Utah to, move your family into, and you were saying that you wanted to make this much. Like, hey, what's going on? Like, you knew this was what it was going to take to do it, and I don't see you doing the activities. Has something changed? So I'm having more of a supportive role to help you accomplish your goals versus getting you to measure against the other guy. Because getting you to measure against the other guy works. It's effective, but not effective long term. It's effective today, right? It's like a stim pack, right? It's good to get you fired up for a moment, but if I have to fire you up
Every day
by motivation every day,
yeah.
God, get off my team. I do not want you on my team. But if we're focused on what your big goals are, then that's how we build a culture of morale. So did that answer your question?
Yeah. What about you, Jason?
I think we've done a good job of incentivizing everybody financially to hit their target. So if you think of our process as like everybody has, we're running a baton race, right? And everybody has their own individual leg of the race. And then each step of the way, they have things that they need to do. They're financially incentivized to perform very well. And their performance then is conducive to the baton getting handed to the next team member and so on and so forth. So if everybody feels like they're doing their job, not only are they like doing well as an individual, but then they also feel like collectively as a whole, the team is doing good. And that's worked really well for us. And then we'll sprinkle in like team bonuses or team building things for the virtual team. And we've done a really good job of retaining our virtual team members by doing stuff like that and making them feel part of the family and that their work really matters. But I think that's worked well for us. We've never incentivize them to go against each other. And our team, frankly, is not big. Like we had 40 something people and they were all in the same role in my old corporate job. So it was very much cutthroat and dog eat dog. And everybody was on a board. Everybody's numbers were posted every single day. It was just that kind of business back then, dude. And with the way we have it now, I actually like this much better because it is not, we don't have 40 acquisitions guys going neck and neck against each other. We got 2 acquisitions guys. We got people in leads manager roles, lead generation. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it just works much better for us that way. I like it better as a manager because I do remember that competitive environment, and it's fun, and that like boiler room atmosphere can be fun when you're younger and you're full of but I don't want to deal with all that shit now, dude. I like what we're doing much better. It feels like we're working towards a collective goal, which feels good.
Yeah, you got Red Bulls in the fridge and cocaine in the bathroom to make sure everyone's performing.
Yes, yeah. It's everybody's smoking cigarettes every 15 minutes. So yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Let me I brought this up in a call this morning. I want to get you guys' take. Here's my bold statement, right? Have you noticed that everyone that was banging the gong on Instagram isn't talking about real estate anymore? Right. So you're talking about like this competitive environment, right? Is like we could go celebrate a signed contract. Everyone's standing around and bangs the gong and like they all clap. You notice they're not really doing real estate anymore. So that's that competitive environment and how effective that is. So it's food for thought.
Oh, that's a little spicy, Steve-O.
There's something to be said about longevity, dude, especially in this business. I'm coming on this is year 10 for me. And that's something that I'm very proud of personally. Like we've, never got distracted, always kept our head down, grown at our own pace. And we're thriving right now, dude. Like our team is having, going to be what I think is going to be our best year financially and from every measurable metric. And it feels really good to be in it for the long haul and know that this wasn't just some fly by night, fly by the seat of your pants type of thing. But yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Steve. That is very interesting. Noticeable for sure.
Now you got me reconsidering everything.
Yeah,
because I like competition. Like I want you to compete against yourself, but like I like putting out the incentive. Like, hey, whoever wins today gets $500, and then watching people fucking grind it out for the $500, and then like you win that championship. To me, that's just fun, right? And it's competitive in that way to where you have those incentives. And then if you're like the top producing rep in the company that month, we would pay you. Like, hey, great job. You worked your ass off. You deserve to get paid. Like you get more because you won the competition. That's just what I thrive on and what I think the type of environment I'd like to have around me. Again, you can only, with us, it's not like we're going to have 40 different sales reps. Most people are going to have like 4 or 5 max because it's just too much to manage. And there's really not enough stuff for you to buy. I think Nick Perry has like 2 or 3, and they do like $6 million a year. So it's not like you need to have some massive organization.
Yeah, it depends on who you want to attract and who you want to manage in your organization, right?
Yeah.
If you want to attract young guys, then yes, competition, right? Measuring yourselves up, Plecto board, always know who's on top. I think that's great if you want to attract younger sales guys. But if you want to attract stable sales guys who are going to continue working with you for 10 years, I think it's a different avatar.
Jason, have you had a pod with Steve yet? Or have you been gone for all of them?
No, I haven't had one with him yet. I've got to schedule one. Your team's reached out, Steve. I've got to schedule one and fly out there for a disruptor spot.
Steve-O, talk to Jason about, and this was a good lesson for me. He's like, bro, I don't want young hustlers. I want old dudes who have to make $20,000 a month to stay alive and pay their mortgage. Those are the sales reps I need, because now they're going to deliver every time on getting us 100 to 200 grand.
Yeah. So like what we learn in hiring young sales guys that want to go, like they work, right? But like you have a higher failure rate, higher attrition rate, because like they have a different belief system, right? Like they believe, like, have you noticed you have sales reps that, they make 45,000 in a year, like halfway through the year, and like they just kind of fall off a cliff, right? It's because their belief system is 6 figures is a lot of money. I don't want to hire somebody who's 6 figures is a lot of money. I want to hire somebody that 6 figures is the minimum. Right. I want to hire somebody who's got obligations, whose wife is going to ask him questions when the when the bank account's falling low. right? I want a wife. I want a guy whose wife is, has to drive a Lexus or a Mercedes, lives in a gated community, and kids have private lessons. So that guy, do I still have to hold him accountable? Absolutely. But he knows the amount of work required to make six figures and more. The young guy, right? The young guy, maybe he was a star on his high school football team. The seasoned guy, he's trying out, or he's still on the team senior year of college, right? Senior year of Fresno State. He knows the sacrifice. And that's something I want to talk about earlier. I actually looked at one of Stratton's videos and I listened to him do a post-game conference at Fresno State. And he showed extreme ownership, right? So he knows what it takes to play at the college level. It's different than what it takes to play at the high school level. So we want the guys that can play at the college level, relatively speaking, in sales. We don't want the guys that are like hoping to, or they just crush it because they're athletic freshman year or senior year of high school, but they don't know what it takes to make it on the college level team.
What are you doing to identify those guys, Steve? Are you using like predictive index and a combination of just like your instinct that you've had from like going through so many interviews and, layering that on top of data, or is it all instinct, or what's your process for finding people that meet that for your team?
Not a ton of instincts. For sure, predictive index, for sure, without a doubt. We're not making an offer without predictive index. But the interview, right? Like, hey, tell me about your best friend. Describe your best friend to me, right? And we describe your best friend. Who do we hang out with, right? You're describing yourself, right? Tell me about someone you look up to. What do you admire about them, right? That's how we find their core values. So that's how we figure out who they are. We talk about the track record, what they made in the past. And there's parts that you can tell someone's got it or they don't. And I think part of that comes with age. I mean, we actually made an offer to somebody Friday, who's 56 years old, right? But he's got a track record. He's closed big sales, right? I'm more excited about hiring that guy than any kid who's got potential. I want the guy that's done it.
How much do you go in between nurturing? Because I interviewed a girl for our sales rep position. She won the national championship and was the captain of the equestrian team at Oklahoma State. And I was like, we're hiring you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
I mean, I love that. I mean, I still want to take a flyer.
We want you on our team.
Yeah.
You've been working in banking. I can mold you into doing whatever you want. You're an athlete. You get inputs and outputs. You're going to make a lot of money. Like I was I want her. I will take her still, and I will find room for her in an organization, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of my best hires ever was a girl that was she was player of the month or something like that. Big Ten, played I think Michigan State soccer, right? Like that was one of my best hires ever. Unfortunately, I burned her out, but she was incredible talent, And so it's not that I'm opposed to taking a flyer on somebody. It's just I would feel better with proof versus hope.
Yeah, I'll give you that. What are some of those other questions? Because I wrote some of those down. Describe your best friend. Who do you look up to and why? What are some other good questions to ask these reps in these interviews to see what they're about?
What is your big goal? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal? What do you want to accomplish in life? Why do you want this job? And the reason I'm trying to look here is I want to see someone that's got ambitions. If you don't have ambitions, this is not the place, right? You don't have passion, because what I'm going to ask you to do is going to suck, right? You gotta get hung up on. You gotta be cursed out and so on. You gotta do follow up. So I need to know that you have purpose, that you're trying to do something, because that's what we plug into. Because you're trying to make 100,000, 150, 200,000. You have to prove somebody wrong, or you have to want to make mom and dad happy in some way or another. If you don't have those things, why would you put up yourself to abuse? You can go get a regular job. The other thing I like to tell them is like, hey, Stratton, this interview's not going well. And to see how they deal with that adversity.
See how they respond to it. Yeah.
Oh,
that's good.
Yeah.
Are you
if they can't handle that, then they're not going to make an appointment.
How do you, so is there such thing as too much ambition, Steve? And do you worry that you're going to be pouring, I know this kind of business naturally draws people that have very entrepreneurial spirits, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a concern for some people about like, oh, well, they're just going to come in, learn everything and then go. Is there too much ambition? Are you worried about that at all? I've never really been worried about that. For me, it's never been something that I've taken like, you know, like I'm like you. I want somebody that wants to do well, and it's like if they leave, then they leave. You know, it is what it is. We'll just find somebody else.
So I used to never worry about it at all, and then I got to worrying about it a little bit. And so we have, and like if they leave, right? It's like whatever. But too much ambition, I think we can. What's the word I'm looking for? We can show them the way, right? We can show them the possibilities. Now, when I was strictly buying houses, I had some concern there. So when I was a realtor, didn't really care because no one could ever outcompete me. You went to go compete against me in the field, you always lost. It's just the way it was, right? And when we did the wholesaling thing for a bit, that I had some concern, and some people left and competed against us, right? But as long as they gave me a good year, that's all I asked. You give me one good year, you can go out. You know, it's this blessing, right? I was watching Billions, right? Like you got the blessing, we got the support, right? Now that we're doing more education and sales training, I'm not worried at all because it is freaking complex what we have to do to build this business.
Yeah.
You want to go compete against me? Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like, because when you're not in just like wholesaling and everything's not on the internet, Tim Cook is not going to go start another fucking Apple, bro. You know, like it's way too complex. There's way too much stuff going on. For me on that side, I would say I am a little bit more concerned, but that's just because I came from Allen. And when I started working for Allen at the beginning, I was like, bro, I want to be you. I don't want to work for you forever. And then there was still a point of contention when I left. Right. And to where a lot of the people, and Steve, you told me this would happen when I posted on my social media, do you want to work for us in the sales position? There was a bunch of people who were wholesalers who it didn't quite work out. And it was like, is it worth getting you up on your feet again after 6 months for you just to leave? And then we still got to go find another rep. Now we have all this turnover. And for me, it really wasn't worth it unless I thought a dude was a killer, is one thing I went into.
Yeah. I like the guy who's burnt out. He's like, yeah, I did it on my own. This sucked. I just want to close deals.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're like, I just want to close deals, or if like, yeah, it didn't work out and they couldn't figure something out, and Dean pointed this out to me, he was like, bro, never hire on the dude who's been trying to wholesale for a year. That's not the guy you want, because if he couldn't make it happen for himself, he's never going to make it happen for you. Like, he's never going to close deals with you, even if he couldn't do it on his own and he's not like burnt out, but he just couldn't succeed. There's a serious problem there, rather than like, hey, bro, I couldn't manage the books. I didn't want to have to handle payroll. I just want to go on appointments, talk to these people, close deals, and wipe my hands and go home at 6.
I feel like that talent is out there right now, especially given what the real estate market is doing, for sure. I mean, that's happened directly to me. You know what I mean? And so it's like I had somebody that we parted ways on great terms, honestly, and I was happy when he flew the nest. And then he was finding success on his own. And then he approached me and was like, dude, exactly what you just said. He's like, I don't like paying the bills. I don't like having all the stress of making every single final decision. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to close deals, and that's it. And it ended up being a great person to bring into that position for me. And I feel like there's lots of people out there that have that fit that avatar.
More people are that way. Way fewer people are screwed up like us.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I learned from that too. I was like, we're the ones that are unique. It's unique that we're the ones that like the pressure. Because I tell Scott, I'm like, dude, I love the pressure. I want to make all the decisions. I don't know why I'm sick like that, but I like to have that pressure on me, and most people don't.
Yeah, I only had one mentee who just cracked under the pressure, and I felt like it's like, man, this is like horrific. Like, he was telling me about some challenges he had, and every time he's like, I'm having this challenge, I'm like, great. He's like, no, like it's like, no, this is awesome. I was like, why is it awesome? Because like you have this one situation where you alone are talking to the homeowner, nobody else can talk to the homeowner, right? Like, and you're like, but it's foreclosure and we're in the redemption period. It's like, this is great. You're the only person who's talking to you. Yeah. You have a good situation here. And like, he was so overwhelmed. And like, I was taking like, not just our regular calls, but like I was talking to him in the evenings, like multiple evenings, to kind of like get him through the situation. And he just cracked. And that was like really eye-opening. Like, where I see adversity as exciting. Yeah. Like, I get to solve a new problem that no one else has solved. This is awesome. He cracked. It was really weird to see.
Last little thing.
It is. I like it. When it gets hard, I like that most people just tap out, and I want to go harder at that moment. So I actually like it when it gets harder. Yeah.
How do you one thing I've had to deal with when coming up with compensation plans is thinking of what is good money for me, right? And then like they tell me they want to make something versus like good money for them. Because like I think we talked about this. You're like, Stratton, you're not going to go hop off the couch to make 200 grand in a year and work for someone else. I was like, no, that sounds like the worst deal in the world. I have no upside. I'm capped. Like there's like all these things toward someone else. And again, it goes back to like, we're the ones who are fucked up in the head. I have to tell myself that like I'm the twisted one. That is an amazing opportunity. So like, how do you like manage that whole thing psychologically with yourself?
How do you manage it? In what way?
Setting those expectations, not thinking you need to pay this sales rep like all this money in the world just for it to be an amazing position. When in all reality, like they say they want X, and like because I've been afraid like, oh, even if they make X, we're probably not going to be happy.
What do you pay your what do you pay your private money lenders right now?
8 to 10%.
Why 8 to 10?
That's what we set.
Why not pay 18?
It's not feasible. Well, it would be feasible if it was a home run.
I mean, it's normal. Like you would, what would you, if I said, Stratton, I want to borrow 150K on this property, what are you charging me?
1 point and 10%. 10% and a point is what we pay. It's the standard, dude. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. I think at least
that's what you'll pay.
Yeah.
But what will, if I call Jason and it's like, hey, I'm buying this flip, it's gonna need a lot of work. What are you charging me?
I'm charging a point. What am I charging you if I borrow the money from you?
If I'm borrowing the money from you, what are you charging me?
I would charge a point and 10% because that's what I charge. And that's what I charge if I lend money out to people.
Man, that's really, really nice of you. Okay, I'm going to charge a lot more than that, right? Right? I'm probably charging 2 and like 15. I don't know, right? But I would never pay 2 and 15. And so that was just my way to answer his question. Is like, what happens is we often project ourselves onto other people, right? Like, you know, this person wants to make $250,000 a year. No, they don't. Like, they're making 50K a year right now where they're at. They want to make, right? They want to figure out a path to 80 and 120.
I'm back. I don't know how
your Obama internet is killing you, dude.
Bro, 2 laptops in a day. Like, I'm on my cell phone now. Like, god damn. All right, so what were you saying? And then we'll
I was just saying you're projecting, right? You're violating the principles of you know, you're leading others how you want to be led versus how they want to be led.
Yeah.
So Jason, your turn.
I think you go based off what the market bears, dude. I mean, what you want and what the market is willing to pay are two different things, or what an employee wants. And if it's like, here's what an acquisitions like role pays, this is what it's going to be. And I'm totally fine just going off of that standard, dude. And if you really want to make 1.5x or 2 times whatever that number is, then your performance is going to have to dictate it. The good thing is, and we're in a meritocracy, dude. If you're in a sales-based business and you want to make that much money, there's a path for you to get there. So let's get you in the seat. Let's see how things go, and and then we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there.
But the one challenge we have is that we kind of throw these numbers out, right? Like acquisition managers is 10%, right? We kind of throw these numbers out there. Dispo is 7.5%, whatever. Yeah. When it fails to, the nuance is, you know, maybe Jason's spending $150,000 a month in marketing. Dean's spending $10,000 a month in marketing, right? Maybe in Jason's company, once the lead comes in, or once you lock up the contract, Dispo takes care of it. Acquisition doesn't have to talk to a person ever again. Dean's company, they have to do the acquisition, the disposition, and the transaction coordinating, right? So like, we have to be really careful when we talk about here's what the compensation is. We really have to figure out what they want, and then do the math for them and figure out how they get there with your company.
I agree. I think everybody's business model is going to be the same in the way that, and that's what you just said. The example, Steve, is very true. Even of me, we've gone through a pretty rapid evolution over the last 24 months. 2 years ago, it was what you were saying now. Acquisitions was doing dispo and sometimes fielding the lead intake calls and all of that stuff. And now everything is much more clearly defined and regimented, and acquisitions talks to closable leads, and all they have to do is close, and then that's it. And so you have to have self-awareness is important there. I agree.
I love it. Steve-O, where can people find out more about you?
The best place is you can go to closemorecells.com. That's our website. On YouTube, iTunes, Spotify is Disruptors. And then on Instagram is at Steve.Trang, STEVE.TRANG. And then we do have a giveaway. So if you guys want our books, our scripts, our call review scoring system, text script to the phone number 33777. Script 33777.
I have it. It's totally worth it. I paid for it before you gave it away. A little peeved, but
Sorry, dude.
completely worth it. I'm telling you guys to go get it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Jason, are you gonna be back in town next week?
I'm flying back next Tuesday on the day of the pod, so no pod for me next Tuesday.
All right. You see that? Like, yeah, forward communication. Like that was
There we
great.
go. There we go.
All right, guys. I will talk to you soon. Peace.
Later, boys.